Parasocial relationships have been around since the beginning of entertainment, but with the rise of the internet, it has only become far more worse than anybody could have ever imagined. Typically, a parasocial relationship consists of one party having knowledge and content of the other, while the other doesn't have any knowledge of that person's existence at all. This is romaarmy, a YouTuber who's a self-proclaimed men's rights activist, as well as a supporter of other major left-leaning topics. She gained her following from her views on men's rights, while at the same time being an OnlyFans model.
No, I don't. But at this point, I probably fucking should, since so many people believe that I do. Just kidding, it's not happening. I have a Patreon, and yeah, I'm nude on there sometimes, but it's not what you think.
Okay, so it's not OnlyFans, but the only difference is her Patreon is priced at between $50 to $100 a month. She does have a $10 option, but that's not what pays her bills. Now, if I just made a video talking about how she promotes her nudity online and makes a living off of it, I would have to talk about every single other e-girl online that does the same thing and essentially rob men of their hard-earned money. But with Chloe, it's a lot more dangerous than just subbing to rent304.com for $3.99 a month.
It's not what you think. My top tier, I talk to my Patreons every single day through my Patreon Snapchat. I know them by first name. I know about their pets. I know what they do for a living. I know them personally. And when I do send that kind of content, it's personal, it's individualized to them. I express my femininity in a very beautiful way, in a classy way. But also, who gives a fuck? If I'm not hurting anybody, who cares?
As she claims, she knows her audience on a personal level. She knows their names, she knows their pets' names, she knows where they work. So why would a man go out there and try to get himself a girlfriend or possibly a wife when he can just rent a girlfriend online that can offer him almost everything that he needs, except for, actually being there, physically. Only men that actually do pay for her pornographic content are the type of men that are very desperate in the dating department and just have no luck for whatever reason. And I make that assumption because I'm assuming that if you are a man in a relationship, you're not going to be spending money to see another girl naked if you're actively dating somebody. I mean, think about it. No sane person is going to let their partner spend their money that could have gone to rent, food, or other necessities on an internet hoe that hides underneath the guise of being a men's rights activist and mental health advocate. And that itself is also dangerous because Chloe does provide mental health assistance and advice as part of her Patreon subscription. Not only is she not certified to give any mental health advice, she herself has admitted to being bipolar.
I'm diagnosed with bipolar type 2. I have severe reactive attachment disorder, diagnosed PTSD,
having childhood trauma.
The drinking Windex was the only way to make it so that I wasn't sad, so that my mother didn't hate me.
And has even made multiple videos talking about how she tried to commit toaster bath. Meanwhile, she's a mother and never seems to take into account what would happen to her kids if she was ever successful in her attempt. Now, Chloe claims to be a men's rights advocate while at the same time being left-leaning. Last time I checked, lefties really didn't like giving men any rights at all. Just like when it comes to the abortion, men don't get any say at all, really, especially if they want to keep the child. When it comes to custody battles, men are always discriminated against because the courts always side with the mother, because you can never separate a child from the mother, but you can when it comes to the father. And don't even get me started on child support. It's just straight up theft from the other party that's not consenting for their money to be fucked with. It robs them of their earnings, basically based off what the woman says she needs, and that list can be endless. Chloe is what most people would like to call a chameleon. She's a feminist disguised in men's rights activist clothing. Well, in her case, no clothing. But I think I'm gonna hand the video over to Shock Troop, who can explain this next part of the video a lot better than I can.
Hey, thanks to Thvgrats for having me on the channel. I've posted 2 videos about romaarmy already, because as far as content is concerned, she is the epitome of low-hanging fruit. This recent short she posted to her YouTube channel is a really obvious example of her lack of social intelligence. It also displays that all of her opinions are illogically based off of her pre-existing liberal ideologies.
Trans rights is a men's rights issue. Let me explain. Haven't
Haven't you noticed that whenever there's a discussion about trans people using restrooms or change rooms, it's always the discussion of trans women?
So you mean men, right? Like a person who has male genitalia? The reason the discussion revolving around bathrooms is always about men pretending to be women who want to enter into a woman's private area, i.e. public restrooms, is because men actually happen to be physically stronger than most women. So in an instance where a man were to want to abuse a young woman or girl, wouldn't a good way for someone to do so to use the excuse of being a transgender to enter into the little girl's bathroom? Because if we're being honest with ourselves, women under most circumstances would be incapable of forcing themselves on a man in the men's room because men are physically stronger and therefore can reasonably resist advances from a woman, even if that woman is pretending to be a man. So yes, we talk about men more when it comes to invading a woman's privacy in public bathrooms, because in those instances, men are significantly more threatening as a physical force than a woman.
Piers Morgan pretty much summed it up on his conversation of why trans women shouldn't be in women's spaces.
It does matter to the victims of male rapists who see their attackers identify as women to get into women's prison.
Now, I think we can both agree that he's not citing a specific case of a man attacking a woman and then dressing up as a woman to attack her again. What he's talking about is men in dresses are really just predatory men. If you can't see that this is also an attack on men as a class, then you've got to be blind, because men are not these inherent attackers. Men do not represent rapists. Men are not creepy weirdos. No matter your gender, sexually attacking people in a bathroom is illegal.
Piers Morgan was talking about men having the capability to assault a woman, and then through the corruption that is the justice system, identify as a woman, and then have access to women's prison, where that attacker is likely to reoffend. It doesn't have to be on the same woman, but rapists rape. That's kind of the whole point of being a rapist. Also, the way Chloe keeps insisting that being against trans women, aka men with penises, is somehow an attack against men as a whole is complete hogwash. Because if any man can just claim to be a woman, then it completely erases what it even means to be a woman in the first place. Also, the same goes for any woman pretending to be a man. How can Chloe say that she's a men's rights advocate when the ideology that she supports also supports the erasing of what it means to be a man in the first place? She claims to be an egalitarian, which means that she believes that everyone should have equal rights. What exactly is equal about grown-ass men competing against women in sports? What exactly is equal about women, or a man for that matter, wanting privacy in a restroom made specifically for their gender? If anyone who simply claims to be the opposite gender can infringe on the right to privacy of other individuals, then that is not equal. You see what I mean? Chloe is incredibly unintelligent and doesn't think before she opens her mouth about whatever liberal swill she has building up in her self-professed bipolar ass brain. It's hard to be a liberal in modern political structures and to say that you support men at the same time, because current day leftist politics are designed to destroy men. Chloe has a direct conflict of interest and is attempting to combine two completely different ideologies. No, women cannot turn into men. No, men cannot turn into women. No, you cannot be a men's right advocate and at the same time suggest that women can also be men and men can also be women. It's completely illogical and makes it ever more apparent that Chloe is only pretending to be a men's rights advocate for views and clout.
I just gave birth to a baby boy in the hospital, and the hospital is seeking to remove him from me, all because I requested that they amputate his feet and remove the glands from his armpits. I didn't see why it was a big deal. He's a boy. Those are going to be really stinky, uncleanly areas that I'm going to have to deal with when he's older. He could get infections. Like, what is wrong with that? Then I realized that that's exactly how you dumb fucks look when you cut the tip of your baby boy's penis off because the male natural autonomy is dirty. Yeah, I don't see what's right or ethical about putting a baby under the knife with no proper anesthesia because babies can't take those types of medications. So if you think that it's absurd that I would ask to have my baby boy's glands and his feet removed, maybe you can see how fucking dumb and inhumane you look when you ask your sons to get circumcised.
Chloe, you are aware that as a men's rights advocate, you sound incredibly foolish and even anti-Semitic by calling people who circumcise their children dumb, right? Well, Miss Men's Rights Advocate, did you know that approximately 1/3 of all men worldwide are circumcised? And that a majority of those circumcisions are done for religious reasons? Mostly by Jewish and Muslim families. So you just called an entire nation's worth of men dumb and stupid for circumcising their children when it is a literal requirement for them to follow their religion and God. And for your analogy about removing your son's feet and glands, yes, it does sound absurd because that would likely ruin your child for the rest of their life. Circumcision and amputation are two completely different surgeries and aren't comparable. If you compared it to removing someone's appendix, then you may have sounded somewhat intelligent because you don't need your appendix and you don't need your foreskin. But I don't really expect much from you anymore. I'm thoroughly convinced that the only thing you care about is how many men you can extort on your Patreon. Oh yeah, you see that number right there? That's how much money Chloe's making every month by having men pay for her Patreon, which includes NSFW content, which I suppose makes sense why she's hating on circumcision, because Muslims would likely not approve of her distasteful nudity on the internet. Chloe is one of the women who I as a man would recommend you be careful placing your trust in. She's incredibly disrespectful to so many different religions based off of just this video alone. She extorts her sexless and therefore vulnerable male fan base by making them pay for her Patreon, and she isn't even smart enough to say anything new that someone else hasn't already said about being a men's rights advocate. Based off of this video, Chloe's a men's rights advocate unless you're Jewish or Muslim or minority Christian who circumcises their children because they love God. Which is ironic because in this comment, Chloe insinuates that she loves God, and that's why she got a cross tattooed on her neck. But in this video, she says that she hates the tattoo.
They say that they don't see what you see in me.
Fun fact for you, depressing fact for me. Did you know that this massive tattoo on my throat that looks like a penis, depending on what angle you look at it, was supposed to look something roughly close to hers? Except hers is a beautiful moth and mine was just supposed to be this like little pretty design. But that's like roughly the size and the exact placement that it was supposed to be. So when I tell you that I don't want to talk about this tattoo and I've never answered any questions about it ever, that's why. All right, since the beginning of my career, people have been making backhandish comments about the upside down crosses pretty much all over my body. Quite frankly, I'm pretty sure that's why my conservative ass neighbors don't like me. So today I'm gonna give you a little lesson, okay? Stop believing everything that you see in Hollywood, you fucking dum-dum. The only place that an upside down cross resembles Satan is in Hollywood. Have you ever heard of the St. Peter's cross? He was crucified upside down because he felt unworthy to be crucified the same way as Jesus. What this translates to some people, but more specifically myself, is that I don't feel worthy of God's love. Not that I dress up in all black and sacrifice chickens to the devil. Thank you.
I rest my case. I wouldn't believe anything Chloe says because she'll either lie to make herself look better or just have a tantrum on TikTok when she doesn't get her way.
Now, it doesn't surprise me that Chloe puts her own opinions above others, especially when it comes to other parents and what they want for their children. But meanwhile, she brings toxic men around her young kids.
Around you.
But what did I do?
I explained it just now.
Why are you yelling at me?
She has smoked weed in the bathroom with her young daughter present.
Excuse me, I'm gonna take another Bonto. Rocking the hotmail nice. I've rocked hotmail since like forever.
No, we're dating. I wish. Look.
Oh, Hosanna, you're naked.
As well as bragged about her amazing parenting skills, which is to beat your child if they step out of line.
Tell you something, if my daughter, who's 3, but when she's a teenager, if she ever like propped up her phone and was like, Mom, watch me do a video, and then started shaking her fucking ass, oh, buddy, I'm beating her ass until she can't. I'd like to point out the difference between my Facebook, which is the adults, my Facebook page, and TikTok, which is full of kids that think they know everything. So I told my Facebook page about me getting trashed on TikTok for saying I'm gonna beat my kid, right? Literally everybody. Like, I only took 3 screenshots. Like, you guys. I know most of you guys grew up in the generation where you can just be like, hey mom, look! But like, girl, That is called, good parenting. It's called good parenting because you want your kid to succeed in life and not be a fucking stripper and teach her to use her body to get male attention and teach her to use her body to get male attention and teach her to use her body to get male attention and teach her to use her body to get male attention.
Because it's okay for her to sell her body on the internet and twerk all over TikTok, where she herself has admitted that there's kids on that app.
TikTok, which is full of kids that think they know everything.
But if she ever sees her child doing it, instead of having an educated discussion with them, she's going to physically abuse them. Because we all know that physical abuse to a child teaches them so much about responsibility and how to be appropriate, right? Now, she did state in another video that it was a joke, but if you ask me, when it comes to child abuse, there is nothing funny. There's no joke you can make that would even be considered funny when it comes to child abuse. And considering the fact that she is somebody that has come from child abuse herself, you would think that she would want to do better for her own children. But Chloe is trying to abandon her daughter in the most horrible and sick way possible. Chloe has mentioned countless of times how she suffers from bipolar and how she still suffers from suicidal thoughts. Just recently, she uploaded a video where she says she has thoughts in her head of wanting to kill herself.
It's kind of a fucking struggle for me, especially when I go to sleep at night and I don't know if I'm gonna wake up the next morning happy or echoes of kill yourself, kill yourself, kill yourself going through my head. As crazy as that fucking sounds, and I realize that now that I just said it,
If you pay close attention to how Chloe's acting, she's constantly sniffing her nose, her arms are flailing around, being that people that do suffer from mental illness tend to find a coping mechanism within substance abuse. She does have a history of substance abuse in the past, so there is a chance that on top of her mental health, she's also relapsing.
I just want you to know that you're not alone. And even though your mental health may not make sense to you, and it may feel like it's just never gonna get better, it's never gonna go away, I can't promise you that it will get better, but what I can assure you is that I'm right here fighting right alongside with you. So as long as you don't give up, I won't give up. We can do this together. Let's not let our minds play tricks on us.
And while some may look at it and think, oh, this is just a I'm here for you video, you're not alone, we're in this together. In reality, it just shows how unstable she really is. And she's making zero progress with her own mental health. When a person is on a roller coaster of emotions and is constantly going from super happy to super depressed, they cannot be in any sort of place to give another person mental health advice, let alone charge money for it. That's like giving an alcoholic 20 bucks and asking him what it's like to be sober.
I have been fantasizing a lot about people asking me how I lost the weight that I haven't lost yet. And like, I just have so many answers.
These relationships that she creates with these men, you know, for her, it's just paying her bills. For them, there's some that actually think they have a shot with her. There's some that actually think she cares about them, that she's there for them, and that maybe in the future they're gonna meet and who knows what. Desperate and lonely men are the most vulnerable, and she's taking advantage of that. When she talks about the rate of suicide in men, it's mostly because they are lonely. Just Pearly Things talks about this all the time, how modern women have no respect for men, and it's only making the depression and suicide rate of men go up even more. You know, just from her comment section alone, I sometimes will see a lot of men saying that how they would much rather just prefer to be single. And I don't know how leading men down a road of endless money wasting on rentaho.com is going to help them achieve true happiness in life. I really feel like Chloe needs to take a break from the internet and focus on her own mental health, focus on getting better, focus on spending time with her daughter, and maybe finding a life partner that is actually going to help her achieve all those things. If you guys sticked around for this long, I want to thank you all so much. And if you want, subscribe. It's free. If you don't like me, you cannot subscribe. It's okay. Now, I just wanted to give a big thank you for Shock Troop for joining me in on this video and giving us some great insight from a real male's perspective. I highly recommend you guys go and check out his other 2 videos he did on Chloe. And while you're at it, go and check out his channel. He has some other awesome videos. And again, big thank you for Shock Troop. Alrighty guys, I would normally say I would see you in the next one, but that makes no sense. So you're gonna see me in the next one.